All right. So we got to the first step. We were able to get to the first step, which is we're recording. Okay, I figured that much out. So this is officially the first morning brew with Jaffe and Razor. Whether we make it to a number two, who knows? I've got my coffee. I know you're probably already caffeinated on your
I,
drive in. So we're gonna just get right into it. This is just raw Bruins talk. Talk about the game that was, maybe talk a little bit about what's coming up. But the hope with Morning Brew is that we give Bruins fans, Razor, kind of the hockey love that they deserve. We get to talk about some of this on the Boston Sports Radio. Not a lot, but enough here and there. I mean, but we're going to try and see if it works, see how the response is. All right, so let's just get right into it. This is after the Bruins game 4. After the Philadelphia Flyers game at home. We'll call it, well, it was the home opener. They've got to go to a shootout to win, but yet after 2 periods, it didn't feel like they had a chance to get there. Good win, great win, okay win. What do we think of this 5-4 shootout win over the Flyers?
I think it turns into a great result for the group. I wouldn't say they're at a great win pace. I think a great win for them last night would have been a solid 3-1 with 3 5-on-5 goals. They didn't play very well the first 2 periods. They looked like they were in big trouble, but that's what makes it a great win, is that it felt like the Bruins team that we watched all last year, and might not have felt like that the last 3.5 games. And it came in the third period in overtime. Tuukka was great. So I'm not putting it at a great win, but it's certainly a great result to get 2 points out of being down 2-0 against a very good Philly team, a team that everyone expects to be right at the top of that division as well.
That Philly team's offense is really good, and they're missing Sean Couturier. They're missing Philip Myers in the back end. This kid Morgan Frost, who's, I don't say a fill-in, but he's a young kid coming up. They're missing 4 regulars. Their offense is really good.
They are, and they had that. I mean, we talked off air. Sandheim, the kid could fly. A guy that under the radar, but
he should have scored an overtime. Not scored. He should have got. He got shot off an OT.
Yeah, that was a wonderful chance.
I mean, he went right around Zaboral. Are the Bruins? Are they fast enough? Are they? They're faster than they've been. I guess I'll rephrase it this way, man. Like, are we concerned about their speed? Meaning the game is so different now. Everybody can fly. Everybody can. Do they have enough, do you think?
There is. I think I've noticed that the first 4 games, that especially maybe individually, that speed might not be there. Maybe, the guys as a whole core, there isn't one guy who's a speed demon. There isn't one guy that you look at like, wow, he's going to blow by any defenseman he gets an opportunity wide. There's Jake DeBrusk, who has speed at times, but I think where that comes in is, and where they've been able to get away with that is moving the puck really quickly.
Yeah.
And I don't think they've been at that level yet. Maybe without David in the lineup, that changes.
Torrey Krug. Wasn't he their best puck transporter, first passer?
No question. There's no question. And when he was out there with the other 4 guys, that puck got from 200 feet really, really quickly.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen that. So I would be I think in a division, there's a few teams that are really quick. Philly's really quick. I wouldn't say Pittsburgh's a really fast team. I think they're a little bit older. They move the puck really quickly, not a fast team, but they're not playing Colorado, which is fortunate because you watch that Vegas. Nate Dogg or Vegas. There's other, even the Leafs at times, that is a forward group. So missing those guys, I think in the division they're in, that helps a little bit.
Yeah, I thought, listen, New Jersey, without Nico Hischier, without Jesper Bratt, there were how many times, and I know you didn't work the game, I know you watched it, but straight line speed, whether it was Miles Wood or the Sharon Govich kid, bam.
Gusev,
straight line speed. How many times did they attack the Bruins with straight line speed that put the Bruins back on their heels? The Bruins are more mobile defensively now, in theory, with Zaboral. with, I mean, don't Krug wasn't a bad skater. I mean, he's a great skater, heavy, you know what I mean? Powerful, but
Mhm.
fast. In theory, they should be, but they've had an issue as a team handling straight line speed. We saw Sanheim take it wide and then to the net on Zaboral. I do think that's something just to keep an eye on. Like, I'm not ready to say that it's a big problem at all. I'm saying keep an eye on that as this season progresses.
Yeah, I'm curious what you think of the fact that there's no preseason and how much that affects that right now. 4 games in, typically these
My
guys
performances have sucked, quite honestly. Without preseason, they sucked. The other night, I started struggling for words, which was, oh my god.
That's
No,
the kids.
listen, yeah, no shit. Well, I mean, I'll answer it, but I'll also answer it with a question. You being a former goalie, look, I know how I feel just for fun skates going out there, not having skated in a while, or skating, doing drills or whatever, and then playing in a quote unquote, game, pickup, whatever. There's a difference. There's a difference, and your legs feel different, your lungs feel different, your hands feel different when you receive a pass. When somebody's 6 inches away instead of in a drill, nobody there, or 6 feet away, etc. So I don't know. Like, I mean, there's a lot that needs to be worked out for a lot of teams. I just wonder with the Bruins with some big change, but also with some elder guys too, if it's going to take them a little bit longer, perhaps. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, it will. It will. It's all between the ears. It's all that mental side. And with such a long layover, it was always the first day of training camp. You could work out all summer, but then once the gun, you're under the gun and you're mentally focused, you get so tired so quickly. And you see it with the kids that you practice. When you're on them the whole time with 9, 10, 11-year-olds, they could skate all day long, but when you're actually trying to get them to focus to do a drill, they're done in 12 minutes. They're lying on the ice.
Right.
They can't, and that's the same thing with NHLers. It's the exact same thing. And to get up to game speed, and that's what we hear about game speed all the time. What's game speed? Game speed is having that focus and that mental intensity for 60 minutes.
What was worse for you, day 1 or day 2? After that day 1 excitement of training camp, and then all of a sudden day 2, it's the reality. At Michigan, a lot of times it was, it was day 2. It was like, oh my God, like, okay, my body, my head, my everything.
Yeah,
back to
it's
reality.
A great point. And the difference again with this season is typically in October, you're playing 2 games a week because you're trying to avoid NFL, you're trying to avoid college football. There's not a lot of games at the start of the season, so you have that ability to recover. Now, every other night.
And practice.
Bang, 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 bang. And exactly, it's a practice. On top of that, you're not practicing, so you're not honing your craft. You're going out and getting a 20-minute buzz in. So it's going to be fascinating to see how the season develops. And it's amazing we're only 4 games in too. Doesn't it feel like it feels like it's been a month and a half already.
Oh goddamn.
Yeah, I know. Like yeah, that. You're right.
Both 2020 and 2021.
Oh Jesus.
All right, so Morning Brew again. Our goal is just to kind of, when I say rip through raw, kind of just not raw footage, but just raw talk about the game. Let's go through it. First period we talked. You said, and I agree with you. Bruins were great, even though they outshot them 14-3.
Yeah.
It was still, we did a pregame shot from distance pack, which isn't a good thing when there's too many shots from distance. It felt like, and I quickly went over the game recap, watching some of the highlights again. So much stuff from distance. I like the fact in the first, the Bruins used the low to high play and their D were punching pucks through, but it was almost like they were checking the box of, okay, get pucks, move it around, get it to the net, instead of winning battles, retrieving rebounds. You made the point early in the game last night, pre-game, Bruins shots off rebounds are minimal. I know we're through 3 games at that point, right? But until the third period, Razor, they didn't generate legitimate second and third chances. So first period, okay, not bad, all right. Second period, awful, right?
Yeah.
Second period was just, it was like the whole momentum got
No,
changed.
and the penalties were lazy, right. Undisciplined, and against a Philly team, you're not going to be able to get away with it. And they didn't. They got punished for it. Those 2 goals. The second wasn't a power play, but it typically was, 33, 4, 5, 6 seconds afterward, Bjork getting out of the box. So it was a lazy second. It looked a frustrating second, a second period of a team that was struggling, flat out, couldn't find their way.
Yeah, they were struggling. They were out of sync. So Bruce Cassidy gave it to him in between the second and third. Because of COVID, we don't get a chance to talk to him directly as much or anything right now. There was an article in The Athletic, Fluto Shinzawa, talking about, something was said kind of sternly, whatever. We all know, I know Butch real well. He's emotional, which I love. He had to have given it to the guys. He had to have been strong, like, enough. This is BS, guys. Like, so what changes in that third period? Somebody else probably says something, whether it's Bergie or somebody in the room. Something else changes, they get out there. And all of a sudden, if you watch those goals again, it's all about inside positioning, not just standing there. It's inside positioning with movement, getting the pucks. The next thing you know, the Philadelphia Flyers are discombobulated in their own zone. And as a team, and as a goalie who's been in that situation before, where all of a sudden it's like, what's happened to my team structure in front of me? It starts messing with your mind. At least that's the way I see it.
It did, and I think it's a perfect contrast. You just said it, check the box. And that was a perfect analogy for that first period. They were checking the box. All right, we're doing exactly what coach tells us. But then there was a purpose to those check marks in the third period. Yeah. They were winning. They were getting in, like you said, getting in behind. But there was a purpose for them putting it on net. They weren't just putting it there so the video would look good afterwards. They were putting it there to create havoc, to score goals. And the dam broke a little bit. You got Carlo's goal, just a one-timer from up high that doesn't normally, but it's a rocket shot. And Carter Hart's feeling pressured at that point. Now he's fighting through traffic just to see the pass. Rather than seeing that pass all the way across, now he's fighting all the way through the 25 seconds on that shift, and then he gets behind on that goal. That's all work prior to opening up that shot for Carlo, which is a great example that didn't happen in the first two periods.
In the first
yes, that's right.
And so Coyle's goal was the same way. Studnika's goal was the same way. Jack opened the scoring of a few seconds, 57 into the third period. Coyle's a minute later or so, almost 2 minutes. Actually, I'm sorry, a little over a minute later. And then the Ritchie goal, great pass by Krejci, great second effort by Bergeron, right? I mean, those are the things that create the goal. Then you bring up the Carlo goal, which Marchand getting the puck, retrieving it. Nice little subtle thing by Grizz at the right point. He's on his offside. They had switched. They just happened to do that. So Grizzly gets it, and he doesn't do a fake slapper, but he gives a little pump fake, just enough, swivels, opens the hips, passes over to Carlo. Truly, if you look at the play, too, Carlo doesn't get it in what you would call the sweet spot for the one-timer. It's a little in front of him. You really want it in the middle of your stance for that ultimate contact. But he gets a lot out of it right there. And just the movement. Super slow-mo, I love it for our broadcast, but I don't know if it always does the fans justice, realizing how sometimes these things really are tougher than they look type of thing right there. And I thought Carlo's was.
And having that puck a little bit further up in his stance allowed him to elevate it. So, because it wasn't right in his
whether he liked it or not.
He might not have meant to elevate it quite as high as he did. Maybe trying to get that on net, but because that pass a little in front of him, he gets that up and goes barring in. And you were just talking about like how close. Can you imagine if there was 20,000 in that building last night, all fired up for a home opener after not having a season? Like, it would have been bananas in there the last 25 minutes of that hockey game. It's too bad.
Yeah, and we would have been there.
Yeah, that's right.
Too, instead of in our very nice, beautiful new studio.
Absolutely. Having a chicken wing maybe too.
I would have. I'd prefer to be, tell me about shootout as a goalie and how hard it is. I mean, look, Tuukka was phenomenal in overtime. That's glorified pond hockey. I got no issue with it, though.
No, I love it.
I do think, by the way, though, now Pasternak in theory, should help with this team speed, especially come overtime. But I do think that's where you also see the Bruins get exploited in OT. How many chances did Jersey have a couple of games ago in OT? Then we see it with Philly. That's where that overall speed, that individual speed, I think comes
Do
to
you
play right there. But
do you think that at some point here you address and look at getting an overtime specialist ish? These extra points become important if you're looking, what you have on a taxi squad. If you're looking at call ups, are you looking at is it that important this year because of these 3-point swings?
I think the shootout seemed to be more important. I think the Bruins, I'm going to say, I think, they have enough skill, at least I'm hoping they do, with the reemergence or reintroduction of Pastrnak. You put him and Krejci, Marchand, Bergeron, Coyle and DeBrusque, or Coyle and Smith, or whatever. I'd like to think. Now, do they have enough overall speed again? I don't know. Let's see how that plays out. I think the shootout was becoming the question. Last year, 0-7, right?
It's a lot of points.
It's a ton of points, but do you really get a specialist? I think they felt they had gotten that with Andre Kasha.
Yeah, right. He checks both of those boxes, right?
In theory, I think they felt that. We don't.
Well, hopefully he's back soon.
But let's go back to my question about shootout. How hard? It's all right.
That's my Canadian. It's always default to sorry.
But how hard is it for a goalie to retrain to keep his feet? And I know that's more of they're reintroducing the style of goaltending now, keeping your feet more and everything. But Tuukka really has done an amazing job of that in his 2 shootouts, where it's like he stands there saying, "I'm not moving.
No.
I'm not moving." How hard is it?
It's all confidence. It's very difficult. Is the answer right away? We've seen him go the other way, where he's committing early on these shootouts in the 0-7s, and even just holding his feet, but also the first shootout last night where he fakes going in slow, Voracek. Tuukka drops to take all of that 5-hole away, but he's still able to push left and right because he's not committing. He's dropping, but he's still in complete control. And I think that's just as good of an example as Giroux's fake slapper. He's holding his feet on that play. He still needs to move around. But on the Voracek one, maybe sometimes we've seen Tuukka stay on his feet there, and he gets beat 5-hole, and he's standing there because Voracek just quickly moves his hand and chips it in. There, he recognizes he's in too deep to go high, so he drops, takes 5-hole away, but still seals the ice. So it's certainly been a different Tuukka in the first 6 shootouts against, and whether that's I don't necessarily think he worked on it harder or worked on it more. I think it's I'm sure he did a lot of video. I'm sure he recognized maybe he was committing too early, and now I'm waiting and just studying and focusing a little bit more. I think there's also been a tendency, when you're the President Cup winners, when you're so far away, it's easy to slough off the shootouts, right? It's been easy for them to say, it's not part of hockey. Once playoffs come, we're going to win in overtime. I think that's set into them a little bit. And I think this season, with 56 games, with all division games, the recognition of shootouts, overtimes being that much more important, it might have heightened their awareness, their focus on it, because I have had the feeling that they've kind of overlooked shootouts in the past couple of years because they've been able to.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of them. Never have been. Same way I'm not a fan of penalty kicks or whatever they're called in soccer. You're a big soccer fan. Which team do you
Chelsea.
like? Blues?
Chelsea, absolutely.
Chelsea. Yes. How did you become to love Chelsea?
We had in Canada. We had soccer. We had Premier League every Saturday mornings. My best friend's father's from England, and he supported Chelsea, and so it's been like that forever. And now I have a best friend that lives in London. He goes to all the games, so we've been over there. We've gone to games, and
What's their beer? Like, what's their big beer sponsor? They have to have ale.
Yeah,
right?
it's all the warm pulled pints So
I don't mind it. They've gone cooler over in London, meaning they've brought the temp
that
down a
helps.
little bit.
I could have an ale if it's cool,
help.
but not a warm one. That's unless it's a Guinness. I mean, that's a whole nother.
Okay, so you're not that big of a supporter that you actually know their beer sponsor, because isn't that a big deal?
I'm a big, but they've gone to like the tech sponsors now. It's all there's a Russian owner. It's not the mom and pop Premier League anymore. Now it's all the big oil guards that own everything.
That's what Billy.
Yes, the B, the
right?
big B.
That's what the B. Speaking of the big B, all right. So they've got the Philly again on Saturday. We all, I think, like these back-to-back games, not day back, sometimes back-to-back days, but just the same opponent a few times makes for preparation for teams, for broadcasters, for everybody a lot easier. But it also encourages certain things. So as we wrap up this first morning brew, like again, we're only going 20, 25 minutes for this. That's it. We're hitting certain things in the game, talking about. We're going to miss some stuff, and other times we're going to hit everything, right? But what I'd like to see the Bruins, well, especially on the PK, they're going to have to work on the seam passes that Philly brought. I mean, Kevin Hayes I thought Voracek, Hayes were excellent. I thought Giroux was really good again in this game.
I forgot how good he is.
Well, I don't think he showed himself for a while, how good he is. Giroux's shot, by the way, and I'll get into this another time with you. There was a save that you talked about last night. Oh, man, second period? I don't remember. Maybe third. I don't remember. We said, that's a good save on Giroux. Remember the one he shot from distance, right? It moves. And that's the thing about an NHLer's shot that a lot of people don't realize. I can get off a good shot, okay? I can snap it good with this. These guys can put movement on it. It's like a baseball pitcher. And so I want to get into that as a goalie, how you deal with that. Because I thought that Giroux shot actually was like a split finger fastball. Took off in June, and it kind of dove down a bit. So anyways, we'll get into that. But he is good. But hey, Voracek, a couple assists in this game. So I think the Bruins have to look at the seam passes, defend better on the PK against Van Riemsdyk in front. That's where they're missing Chara. Carlo's going to have to be better there, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Gonna have to
and Charlie. Anyone who's there has got to be better.
Yeah. Right, anybody, yeah. Anything in particular for game two?
I'm interested in, now that this Washington protocol, I'm interested on the road team having to stay in a hotel for a day and a half now, and what that theme is, and not having the freedom that they're used to having. And realizing now, like watching the Bruins play the Islanders and being on the road for 3 days and stuck in their hotel room and being a little flat, and whether that is a theme going forward after the 10, 12, 15 games. So I'm looking to that Saturday, and hopefully the Bruins can exploit that and get off to a good start again, but with purpose, not just checking boxes.
Yeah, that would be good, because you can play the game. And then you can play. It's not that they're not playing to win at any time, but you play the game, you go through the routine, the motion, etc. But there's other times that are going to take that second and third effort. And I do think that this year, in particular, the regular season will beat skill an awful lot, perhaps even more than we've seen in the past. The will to go to the arena where there's no 1,000, forget 5,000, but no 1,000 fans. And you can't overlook that. These guys are entertainers. That's what they are when it's all said and done. And anybody out there, whether you're a men's leaguer, a kid out there, whatever, or whether a pro or a former pro, there's some, even especially on the road. I mean, at Michigan, I used to love going into another building where it was us against them. That was that feeling of going. Ferris State is a dump. I don't know if they've rebuilt or anything, but it was 2,300 people, and it was like on top of you, Lake State, and you're like, whoa, but you're like, you know what? It's us against the world, so to speak, and that motivates you, and that energizes you, and we don't have it. So these guys, they're going to need that at times, and they're not going to be able to get it. Hopefully by the end of the year, but I don't know if that's reality.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. All right, so that's our first morning brew. Now, I'm assuming I recorded it the right way. I'm assuming that. So we're going to try and get this up. We'll get it up not very unedited, completely unedited. Try and get it out there on our YouTube channel, Morning Brew, with Jaffe and Razor. And let's see how it goes. And if it's great, we'll do a second one. If it sucks, well, maybe we'll still do a second one.
But maybe not.
We'll try and get after it. Bruins fans responded when we asked them. They said they wanted it. Let's see if that's the case. Let's have fun with it. I know you're headed on the ice. I'm going to head out and get things going as well. And we'll we'll meet up again, and maybe by day 2 we'll have a coffee.
Yes, love it. Love it. Sunday morning. That would be beautiful.
Sunday morning. All right, that's Morning Brew. Jaffe and Razor. See you.